Hello, welcome to the Beliefs Bazaar. My name's Alex. This is going to be the first part of a little series that I'm going to do, which are kind of less organized than my other videos. Not necessarily about beliefs every time, but just kind of random topics that I've been thinking about that don't necessarily deserve a whole longer form video. But anyway, this is the kind of stuff that I usually just ramble at my wife about. So I am unloading onto the internet instead, so I can save her what is likely to be headaches if I go on for too long. So anyways, as the title suggests, I will be smoking and drinking as if I haven't already. So I'd like to cheers everybody watching. Got a little bit of schnapps here with a cup that I made. In case you haven't watched some of my other videos where I talk about what I do. I'm a glass artist. I make mostly pipes. Here I'm going to be using this one. That's not a very good view. Anyway, I blow glass, and that's my main thing. So this YouTube stuff is kind of just for funsies, I guess, for now. I would love it to be, supplement my income. So I so I can take a little stress off of my my other thing. So, if you like this content, please like and subscribe. Like I said, the other videos are going to be a little less, or maybe a little more formal in that I will stick to a topic for a little bit longer and not be drinking or smoking as much. Well, certainly not smoking. It's a little hard to talk about something and keep my train of thought when I'm smoking. But again, this is going to be kind of me rambling about like a sentence that I say. So anyway, cheers to everyone out there. Oh, yeah. And then I'm going to take a little rip. I don't know if YouTube will want to take my video down if I actually show this, so I'm not going to until I know for sure the parameters of what I can do. But I can tell you that I definitely am smoking. I got, let's see here, geez, what am I smoking? I think it's a, man, I can't remember the strain right now. Dog Walker, I think, maybe. Yeah, that's what I got most of right now. Anyway, topic of the day is, what if there was no Bible? And I thought about this because I was watching some debates about evolution versus, I guess, creationism and stuff. And it kind of got me thinking, like, what if we removed a couple books from either side, right? And so obviously for creationism, because they usually draw from the Bible, I thought, well, what if there was no Bible? Or, Bibles, you could say. So pick a religion, get rid of their religious text. And, I guess because creationists like to say that the rest of people that believe in evolution, like, are Darwinian or whatever. So, okay, let's get rid of origin of species too. So let's get rid of the Bible. I'll even be charitable because there's several books in the Bible. I don't remember off the top of my head how many there are, but let's, you can eliminate that many books from the field of science as well. There is a mountain of data that supports evolution and other things. But if you took away the Bible, I guess where I was going with this is, what if we, had, and it's hard to think about, but what if there was just no established religion? There were no holy texts. And let's say we eliminated all scientific books, but left all the stuff we have around right now, right? So I guess hypothetical, tomorrow morning, everyone woke up with complete amnesia. The only things that we really remembered were, I guess, our relationships to each other and, we recognize people that we know, and we can still speak language. We still have language and stuff. Even though a lot of vocabulary, let's, get rid of all the vocabulary that would have come from any of those books. So we have very basic language skills. All right, I'm already getting kind of lost in this example because if you narrow it down too much, we just know nothing. We can't even communicate. So just bear with me. Let's just say there wasn't any of the books, right? We didn't have established knowledge as it is. We just had a lot of stuff laying around. Maybe we have all these like equipment and apparatus. We can take measurements and observations and stuff like that. What would we conclude? Would people end up with a Bible after making observations, or would we land more into like what is scientific discovery and stuff, you know? And sure, there would probably be people that, like there are now, get upset when they don't, when they don't understand something. So they just get all huffy and say that it's all bullshit or that it's fake or some other such argument that is really just like pretty dumb. So anyway, yeah, what if there was nothing? I tend to think, and because religious people like to say, well, if there wasn't the Bible, if we didn't have these guidelines, there would be no morality. Well, that's not true, because there's plenty of people that weren't raised in religious scenarios, and they're not all heathens. Otherwise, there would be an obscene amount of crazy shit going on in the world, right? I didn't grow up with a religion, and somehow I managed to develop some semblance of morality, and that has more to do with who how I am, my experiences as a human, and my ability to empathize with other people. That they're also people. Because if you start with that we're all just people, it's these like definitions and these learned ideas about our identity and all these other things that is what creates the division and like prejudice and stuff, the ideas that we have about those differences, So if we were just to hit that hard reset on all our ideas related to like anything we've learned, and we only retain the ability, maybe just let's go even farther and say we woke up and didn't have any, we didn't remember anything. Like we could hardly think because we don't have words to contemplate, we would start over, but there would be a lot of things around, we would have more than we did when we were, when our species was developing language and stuff, we have all these things, we could start making these observations. And I just tend to think that, we wouldn't, because there is explanations to be found now because of all our current technology and apparatus and these tools that we can use to make, precision observations and dig things up out of the ground without destroying them, to make like, observe, fossil records and, archaeological stuff. We just didn't have the tools back then to really like explain anything. So we attributed it to gods, like Zeus is a good example. Like when lightning strike, Zeus was up in the clouds throwing bolts of lightning down, because why else would we not, like, what other explanation did we have without any way to understand what electricity is or something, So if we had, and maybe not like, I don't know, I guess I just, without the Bible to tell people that this is this is the way of the world, but the Bible doesn't even have evidence. The thing that people don't understand, that people tend to like, religious people like to say that science is a ideology the same as religion and it requires faith and all these things. That is absolutely not true. That's why when people go to school to learn things, they're not just being fed information where they just memorize it and that is their basis of reality. No, the process, like how you are educated in higher education, is that you're presented with information, then you're presented with the methodology to confirm or in most senses, to dismiss or I can't remember the word they use right now, but that's essentially what it is. You're given the tools to learn this knowledge on your own because we've established the methodology. So you're first learning the methodology for which all these discoveries are predicated on. And then you're given the discoveries, and then you most of the time, like especially doctorate students, are there to build upon that thing. So they need to understand how this knowledge was acquired in such a way that they can build on it because they know what is established, right? So I just, gods and the more, mythological explanations for the way things are just something that we don't need anymore. And it's really, my channel is mostly about beliefs, so it's just fascinating to me the level, just how capable humans are of fabricating their entire world based upon just what feels right to them, rather than taking empirical observations and only believing what can be proven by observation, repetition, experimentation, all these things. It's absurd to me that that we're not past this absurdity that is belief systems, and honestly, I wouldn't even really care that much what the belief systems are if they weren't used to stratify humanity and then judge, whoever's outside of your identity, wherever you place yourself on this ladder of hierarchy, and that is only possible through belief about how people should be stratified. So that's kind of my biggest problem with religion. It's not that people believe in a different explanation for reality than me. It's that they use it to treat some people like shit, and and give some people who are actually not good people, they give them a pass because they've aligned with this same ideology. I often say to people, like, another thing that I don't like about, well, cults, but religions too, is, I'm just wary of any organization that you can gain status simply by exclaiming that you are a believer, or if you can repeat the same, content or rhetoric or whatever, you are somehow elevated to the status of prestige or whatever, just simply because you express, I'm the hardest, but I believe it the hardest or whatever, like that's not, I think people, seek power there. And I'm not saying the average Christian or the average, Muslim or the average Hindu, not the disciples and not the people the attendees and stuff. I'm talking about the leadership, because those people seek power through these means that aren't really, like, they just had to memorize this book. It doesn't take any rigorous, interrogation of anything. They're just regurgitating something that's just been, repeatedly used over and over again. And it doesn't lend to any, new knowledge, really. I think knowledge is acquired in spite of that. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting to contemplate what when these arguments take place, what if you just remove all information from your primary source material for either side? Because the thing is about science is that there's not any primary source material. There's an elaborate, huge amount of knowledge acquired across the history of humanity. And there's so many individual things. We don't just evolution has moved. It was, Darwin was almost 200 years ago. We've moved on so far from that, so to say that somehow we would be bereft without, the origin of species, as if that's our Bible, is absurd. There's just so much more. There's so many thousands of papers every year about that just add to and sometimes correct, but that doesn't negate all of science. It's refining our ideas, refining science to be a more accurate description of the world and the universe. And I'm so bummed by just how hang on a sec. Let me think how I want to say this last part. Actually, I knew what I was going to say. That was just an excuse. All right. So, actually, I kind of forgot. Well, you know what? Oh, that was it. What it was. Wow. That's what is so offensive to me about all this, is because I I'm not saying people don't have the right or the freedom, because we certainly do, especially in this country. We should have anyways, the freedom to believe whatever you like. It's just obnoxious to me when those same people come in and say, hey, because I'm sticking to my guns about this thing and refuse to accept this breadth of knowledge, that I'm going to refute you and actually like rally against other people just, because they have taken the time to be rigorous and not just blindly believe anything that's told to them because it doesn't contradict the thing they already knew. I just think that's a fucking tragedy. And I just, growing up, I thought I believed that I was, going to grow up into a world that was just going to continue down the path of discovery, and we would only become more knowledgeable and more enlightened as a species. And, I gotta say, in April of 2025, I don't feel so good about that anymore. I don't feel like, certainly there's progress being made somewhere, whether or not science happens in this country anymore. Certainly it will, but not at the same rate, like it'll happen somewhere, but it's hindered so much. Like we could be just adding at such a profound rate to the knowledge if there wasn't just this huge amount of our population that was antithetical to that and just intentionally gummed up the works and tried to prevent this progress, which just blatantly refutes most of their ideas. I don't know why people are so precious about their ideas. You've gotta be courageous enough to confront your bad ideas and learn some things. So anyway, this is a little bit longer than I meant it to be, but if you're still with me, thank you. I appreciate it. I will be making, fairly often, I guess, these ones, because I smoke fairly often. So, I try to keep my head a little straighter for the longer ones where I'm really trying not to lose my train of thought. But, these ones I think are kind of fun. These are more silly ideas that I have that aren't really, like that's a very hypothetical situation if we just had no books, right? Or no like established knowledge, but all the tools of discovery around us. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.